name is Anna, and I'll be teaching the Stretch and Balance afternoon class. So with that, let's get started. We're just going to start by warming up our body and our muscles, get the heart pumping a little bit. Just start with a nice steady march. And the thing to focus on here is that the slower you step and the more you emphasize high knees, the more of a balance exercise and more of a balancing component you're going to add. So as we march, we're going to add in some bicep curls to really get these muscles contracting and kind of warmed up. Awesome. Make sure you're standing up nice and tall with shoulders wide. We don't want to be arching the back or hunched over, but keeping that spine nice and neutral. Awesome, you guys. Next, we're going to kind of just lean forward and shift our weight towards the front and begin with our tricep extension. Again, adding in those marches. This is just going to warm up the back of your arm muscles. Awesome. Continue to engage that core. Keep a nice strong core and back. Awesome. Next, we're going to shift into glute kicks. So bringing these heels towards your glutes. This is going to be working your hamstrings, warming up the back of the leg muscles. And now we're going to shift to stretching out our biceps. So if you take your right arm forward, palms facing down, awesome. Fingertips towards the ground, and just kind of stretch that out. Adding a little bit of resistance. Great. Shifting to the other arm, left arm straight out. Applying a little bit of resistance on the fingertips. This is also going to be stretching out those bicep muscles. Shake those arms out, keep those shoulders nice and relaxed. Bringing our right arm straight up and over behind our head. We're going to just reach down our back and apply a little pressure on the elbow. That way you're getting a nice tricep stretch. Continuing those glute kicks. Awesome. And again, these hamstring glute kicks can be more of a balance component the slower and more emphasized your steps are. Great job, guys. All right, now that our muscles are nice and warmed up, we are going to shift into a nice downward fold, touching those toes, reaching as far as you can, letting that upper body hang nice and low. Great. Making sure to keep that head hanging heavy. Awesome. And for an extra balance component, we're going to take right leg across, crossing over, and leaning back forward. Good. This is going to really focus on stretching those hamstrings, elongating that spine. You should feel more of a stretch in that back leg. Awesome. And switching over, left leg in front of right. Great. If you can't quite touch your toes, feel free to place your hands on your calves, keeping that back nice and relaxed. Good. Really feel that leg stretch. Bringing back up into standing position. I'm going to take our right leg, grab our foot, and just hold that, stretching our quad out. Now, what I usually like to suggest is that if you're having trouble balancing, stand maybe by a nearby chair or wall, just to be able to stay standing and keep that nice center neutral. Good. Another thing that usually helps me is I've heard that staring at an unmoving object always helps, or just kind of placing that hand on your belly, on your stomach area to kind of keep that center of mass. Great job, you guys. You're killing it. Switching over to the next leg. I'm going to stretch out those quads on the left leg. Good. Really feeling it in the quad area as well as the hip flexors. A lot of times I see people kind of shimmy their legs out to the side, but we want to kind of keep that nice towards your other leg. See how close you can get them to touch to really feel that hip flexor and that quad stretch really work itself out. Awesome, you guys. Next, we're going to bring that leg down and going into our classic tree pose. We're going to bring our right leg up, touching the sole of your foot to the inner of your thigh. If this is a little too high, feel free to start down by your calf, or even to help you balance, feel free to place that toe on the ground. That'll help you not wobble as much. As you get your balance going, feel free to slowly bring that leg up. One thing I like to emphasize though is make sure you're not resting your foot on that knee joint because we don't want to apply any unnecessary pressure on that area. Great. Now if you like an extra balancing challenge, try and bring your arms up to center. And even more so, bring those straight up. And then one more challenge, you can try and close your eyes. I know that can be a challenge for a lot of people. Great, really focus on pressing that knee back. And we're gonna slowly bring that leg down. Great, guys, shake out that leg. And left leg coming up. Remember to focus on nice deep breaths as you're doing this practice. A lot of people can forget to breathe or be too focused on balancing that find themselves holding their breath or having more shallow breath. So make sure you're taking big collective breaths as well as standing up nice and tall. No hunchbacks or arching backs here. Nice neutral spines. Great, you guys. Bringing that leg up a little further if you can. And again, challenging yourself to your highest balancing capabilities. Awesome, you guys. Slowly bring that leg back down, shake those out. Next, we're going into another balancing stretch, all the balancing components today. So we're going to start with our right leg again, bringing that across into a four-shaped fold. We're going to just lean back on our stabilizing leg. You should feel this nice hip stretch, kind of in your glutes area. And the farther you sit back, like you're sitting in a seated chair, the more of that glute stretch you're going to feel. Again, with this stretch, it's always nice to have a chair or a wall nearby because it can just help really dig into a nicer stretch while also staying upright. So if you can balance, bring those hands to center fold. Good, and really sit back, making sure not to have your knees falling forward over your toes, but remaining nice and stable, leaning back kind of on that heel. Great. Bringing that leg back down, shake it out, and left leg up. Same position. If you need a side view, you'll just bring that leg over, across, and sitting back on a one-legged chair. Great, you guys. Now these stretching exercises are going to be key for just making sure your muscles remain nice and loose and stretched out for daily living activities. Awesome, you guys. So next up, we're going to just add a little bit strength resistance for our calves and take these into good calf raises, slow and controlled. Now there's a couple different variations you can do here to work all angles of these muscles. So we're starting here with the nice toes facing forward, straight and centered. Do a couple more of these. Next, bringing it into pigeon toe. These are going to work your outer calves. And it's also very important to always just be working these kinds of muscles because you're walking, you're moving every day. They're holding a lot of your weight. So it's good to have these nice, strong, and stable muscles. Next, bring your heels together. Great. We like to call this the penguin calf lift. Good. Keeping that nice, strong pace. Really feeling that burn in those muscles. Awesome. Now that we got a little bit of strength building in, let's stretch out those calves. So we're going to start by going into warrior. If some of you are familiar with this, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I'll face sideways just in case you don't. So you're going to start with right foot forward and pointing those toes straight ahead, bringing that back to face this outer wall. So that way you have a nice strong base back here, toes turning forward. So you're going to keep this leg, the back, nice and straight, and bend into a lunge, creating warrior one. So you can either keep your arms kind of side by side or bring them straight out, and we're just gonna point forward, keeping these legs with these arms back, nice and straight. Good. To add kind of more of a stretching aspect or balancing aspect, we can bring our back arm forward, clasping those fingers, and really stretching our upper back. This is going to serve as stretching our upper muscles, our shoulders, any areas that usually get tense on most people throughout the day. Usually people tend to kind of carry a lot of stress in these areas, so we're just going to dig into that stretch. Awesome. And coming back into our original pose, bring that back leg up. Shift our weight. We're going to start with our left foot forward, right foot back now. Same thing, lunging forward, back leg straight, arms up. And instead of doing that nice upper back stretch, we are going to open up the chest, bring our arms back, interlace those fingers, and really feel those shoulder stretches again, but also focus on opening the chest. Make sure you're keeping a nice, strong spine. Standing tall, not hunched over, leaning too far back. Nice and neutral spine. Great. Good. Couple more breaths here. Really focus on that breathing and that deep lunge. Feeling the stretch also in your hip flexor, as well as those calves, those hamstrings, for a nice full body stretch. Great. So now we can move our back leg, kind of pointing both toes outward diagonally. You see we have a triangle pose, and here we're just going to get some good side stretches in. So leaning towards the right, we're going to shift our arms, lowering down and down, and then bringing this arm up and around. Good. Now, I know some people might not be quite there with flexibility yet, so if you're feeling too much pressure, too much tension, that's starting to become painful, make sure to just bring your spine kind of more upward. Place your hand here higher on the thigh. And as you feel that stretch open up on the side, feel free to kind of just waver down a little more. Awesome. We're going to hold it here for a couple seconds. Really feeling that nice ab side stretch. You guys are going to feel so nice and loose and relaxed after this exercise. Shifting over to the other side, same thing, we want to balance you out. Usually, most people have a tighter side because that'll be their more dominant use of muscle throughout the day. So we like to try and stretch out both sides, even both areas. That way, you're not off balance or, faltering at all. Great job, you guys. And shake that out. We're going to come into downward dog. So starting on all fours, we're going to have our hands shoulder width apart, knees right under our hips. I'm going to go up onto our toes, bringing our glutes up to the sky like big mountain peaks. Good. This is a nice full body stretch where we have activating our shoulders, our legs, our quads, our hamstrings, you name it, it's all taking place in downward dog. For a little bit of an added extra bonus round, we're going to do one-legged dog. So bring our left leg sky high. We're going to hold that there. Balance on our three-legged dog. And shifting that leg back towards, we're going to shift our head, our weight to look at this back-facing wall while we stretch out that core as well as our calves. Awesome, you guys. And walk the dog out a little bit. Shift those calves. Great job. And other leg is coming out and around, facing this back wall now. Good job, you guys. And bring that leg back down. Walk the dog back into tabletop position. We are going to start with some cat-cow exercises. So we're going to press our stomachs towards the ground, head looking up towards the sky, and then awesome, arching our back like a cat now, and go with the flow of your breath as we do a couple of these rounds. Nice. And breathe in. And breathe out. Good. Really shaking up that spine, those ab muscles, making sure those are nice and loose and stretched out. Important that we don't let them get too tightly wound because they're very important for daily activities and overall exercises. Great. Now if you want, you can bring that spine back to neutral and start to just kind of sway those hips out, really loosening those up. Great. Now we're going to activate some of those core muscles that we just stretched. Our classic bird dog. If any of you have done these before, you know how great they are for balance, for core strength, all of that jazz. So we're going to start by lifting our right arm straight, pointing it forward, and bringing our opposite leg back as well. So right leg, left leg up. This is going to be working our shoulders, our glutes, as well as our core, as we have to balance on our two remaining limbs. So good. Now for an extra added core response and engagement, we can do some crunches. So we're going to bring our right arm to left knee as we crunch in. And we're going to do 5 of those. 3, 4, and 5. Awesome, you guys. Bring those limbs back down. Left arm up, right leg back. Good. And for added modifications here, if the balancing is too much of a struggle, or you're going to too wobbly on either side, feel free to just bring one leg down and just do the arm there. Or vice versa, you can bring the one leg up and just hold that there. Either way, you're still getting that balance component in. Awesome. Couple more movements here before we go into everyone's favorite, the child pose. So we're going to take our mat, if you're on a mat, put those knees a little wider so they're on the edges. Sink back onto those heels, and then reaching forward, we're going to just rest our hand on the surface of our mat or floor, whatever area you're in. Good. And while you're here, make sure to be elongating that spine as well as feeling the stretch in those hip flexors and those glutes. So we'll hold it here for a couple minutes, for a couple seconds actually. Great, you guys. Killing it. And bringing it back up. Take a few seconds there if you need. We're going to go into our frog pose momentarily. So taking those legs, you're going to kind of squat down, taking your hands into prayer style. We're going to use our elbows to press our knees apart, sitting like a frog. Now I want you to focus on keeping that spine nice and tall, not really hunched over or arching if you can even arch in this position, but kind of keeping that spine nice and neutral, as well as pressing those elbows onto the inner knees. This is going to open those hips, which, like I mentioned before, super good to make sure that your hips don't get too tightly wound or too caught up in all of that, because then it can be harder to just perform daily activities and whatnot. So good. Couple more seconds here. Nice, good breaths. Awesome, you guys. You're killing it, and I hope you're smiling on the other end of the camera. Great. So coming out of that position, we're going to go into another classic of mermaids. This is just going to stretch out that core for us that we were working on earlier. So we'll start on the ground, but then coming up onto our forearms, we want to focus on elongating that core and stretching it out. If you want more of a stretch, you can also come up onto your palms, just making sure those wrists are about shoulder width apart. We don't want to be out here too close. Nice stable base. Great, you guys. Holding it here for a couple more seconds before we roll onto our backs for a core exercise and then some good stretching, and we'll wrap it up from there. Couple more breaths here. Awesome. Really feel that stretch Coming out of mermaid, we're going to flip over on our backs and do what I like to call dead bugs. So these are also another great core activating exercise. So if you start by lying on your back, you're going to come up into opposite tabletop position. So you'll have your legs up, your arms up, and we're going to do opposite leg to opposite arm. So bringing those out, and this one, there you go. This is going to incorporate a bit of core exercise as well as thinking as you do opposite legs. So they're great for engaging that core. Make sure you're not arching your back because that can cause problems later down the line, but keeping that back nice and rounded and fully on the ground. Great job, you guys. Couple more here. And awesome, don't forget to breathe. Also, if you need a modification for these, feel free to bring those legs down and just do arms, or vice versa, just legs. Great, you guys. So bringing those legs and those arms down, we are going to lie flat on the ground right before our final exercise. We have one last stretch. Bring our right knee over into a twist, crossing that over the body. We're going to get a nice hip stretch here, elongating that opposite arm, or that same arm, out to the side. We're just going to look towards that shoulder, really feel it in our hip, as well as kind of twisting that spine to loosen up any tension that we might gain throughout the day. Great, you guys. Switching to the other side, it's always good to kind of end on these exercises after a long day because it loosens everything up after either day of working out or a day of just running errands, you name it. Great, we're going to hold this here for a little bit longer and bring that leg back over into Savasana, where we will just lie flat on the ground, palms up or down, doesn't matter. What I want you to focus on here though, making sure you release all that tension from all those muscles lying on the ground, and just take a couple deep breaths here. A lot of people usually like to kind of skip this part, but it is the most important because you're letting all those benefits kind of seep into your muscles that you just gained from our stretch and balance workout. So with that, our class is coming to an end, but if you'd like, feel free to remain in this position for as long as you need before you go out the rest of your day. Thanks, guys.